Hello, everybody. As Loren said, my name is Julie Pulcinelli. So I'm going to start off here. My time at Case Western Reserve University was unofficially sponsored by Claudio Tacos, Criminal Minds, and Purell. So much Purell. My Case experience really began the moment I decided to go back to school. I was at my dream organization working with director's office and assisting an incredible team of curators. However, I realized I was in need of backing my enthusiastic ideas for museum reform and exhibitions with more theory and dedicated study. It was a hard decision to leave, but I knew that I wanted to go into museum studies to create more positive experience for both visitors and staff. Expectations. So I came into grad school at a very interesting time. Our open house was scheduled for Friday, March 20th, 2020. As we received our Zoom link for the switch to an online format, we unknowingly had a taste of our new grad school normal. I will never forget scanning whole books at Ingalls Library when we received 4 hours of notice that the CMA would be closing indefinitely because of a new outbreak of corona during my first finals week. However, my expectation of being stuck in my room with this owl-eyed cat on my laptop didn't stand a chance against the countless study nights, marathons, and holidays with my art history cohort. Despite the auspicious start to our time at Case, somehow we made the very best of the situation. Instead of coffee outings, we bonded over going to weekly COVID testing. Instead of brews, we met up and excitedly took pictures of our Band-Aid-clad arms for our first vaccinations. And even during the harder times, we bonded over an entire week of not knowing who won the 2020 election with pizza nights and long walks. I learned that the rambunctious group of young women I was joining enjoyed my favorite things in quarantine: charcuterie boards, movie nights, and my goodness, do we love a theme. As cliche as it sounds, most of my learning did happen outside of the classroom. My goal was to use these 2 years in grad school to connect with any organization that struck my interest. Here are 2 that did just that. I spent last summer volunteering for the collaboration between Spaces Gallery and the Tamir Rice Foundation to market and maintain the 4 art boxes which popped up across Cleveland, including the box at the Roxborough Elementary where Tamir attended. Gently used art supplies are donated to incarcerated children for art mediation. If you are interested, please donate. They are still up and running, and they are still changing lives through mediation of art. Another organization I jumped at the chance of helping was the Cleveland Museum of Art's Community Arts Center, which opened last summer. My first day of volunteering included recreating giant dandelions and giving dragons some haircuts. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go visit and see. I've worked many of their events, including their opening day and their monthly family fun days. And all of these projects have provided me with the necessary skills to merge art history with real-world engagement. Last summer, when I wasn't collecting art supplies or making dandelions, I also interned at the Western Reserve Historical Society under the curator of costume and textiles, Patty Edmondson. She was an incredible and trusting mentor. She joked my first day that it wasn't going to be exciting work and that I'd be vacuuming some old hats. I was thrilled. Patty entrusted me with the design and curation of a small exhibition of hats from local Cleveland milliners as a part of the larger exhibition, Amanda Wicker, Black Fashion in Cleveland. I learned about textile conservation, how to affix labels to board, and most excitingly, how to use a drill. Can you imagine the amount of trust someone has to have to hand you a power tool and an empty exhibition space and just let you go? Finally, I was the research assistant for the Eleanor and Kelvin Smith project. The letters which I cited were from long before this photo was taken, back in 1918. I found such a kinship as Eleanor would write Kel about the struggles of being away at school during the outbreak of an influenza pandemic. Reading these in the summer of 2021, during a new wave of quarantines, Eleanor's letters detailing being stuck in her room, reeling with boredom. History had a way of repeating itself. I'll admit that my application to the Museum Studies program was deeply tied to the second-year internship. I was paired with my first choice of the Cleveland Museum of Art's Exhibitions Department, a department whose purpose was foreign to me because of the size of museums where I've worked. I've input countless artworks into the Athena database, and scarily enough, I think I'm actually beginning to understand it. The exhibitions I was most eager to be a part of were the upcoming New Black Vanguard show and the 2022 edition of Front International. However, the most important lessons from my internship may have been taught without my supervisors even realizing it. In meetings between departments and even within the department, I was relieved and taken back by the respectful and direct communication. I saw a functional and professional and yet endearing department, and I was very lucky to have them patiently teach me so much. Now, the greatest honor of my graduate education will forever be the 47th Annual Cleveland Symposium. One pandemic, 2 last-minute chair changes, speakers from 3 different countries, handled it. I saw the safety net of the graduate school come together and push the event to the finish line, to mix metaphors. Professors Bowman and Rager fielded through all the surprises with me and were of great counsel. I was relieved when the day came and all the speakers were accounted for. I was then blown away by the quality of the presentations and of course by Adam Mo's participation. So as you've heard, I've had some surprises in my 2 years here at Case. I think they all pale in comparison to me receiving my TA assignment for fall 2021. After realizing that it wasn't a typo, I stared for a few minutes more at the email that told me I'd be the teaching assistant for Art History 101. My closest experience was being an arts program coordinator for a summer camp for 4th graders. So teaching 15 undergraduates about ancient art, which is about 2,000 millennia away from my specialty, seemed way outside my realm of possibility. Yet, somehow I steeled my will and I showed up for the first day. To my surprise, they didn't throw anything at me or even scoff. And when my classes began to meet for lessons at the CMA's galleries, I realized I can talk about art. I've been giving tours for years. Give me an audience and let's learn about some contrapposto. The final surprise just came in the form of the Graduate Dean's Instructional Excellence Award, and this is fully the result of my mentorship from Professors Scallon and Benet, who trusted me with their students. When I switched from my BFA in graphic design to art history way back in 2012, I thought I wouldn't have to worry about the starving artist label, and yet, it may surprise some that in the summer of 2021, I actually started my own small business, creating art history and retro whimsical jewelry. It gave me the chance to work once again with my creative brain, and it was also a salve to the many papers I'd written the year prior. I sold 100 pairs of miniature masterpieces to make rent, making jewelry at night after my internship, my 2 volunteer positions, and my job. I know Professor Witchy, I will never do this much multitasking again. So, the most important aspect of my time at Case Western Reserve University. It was a mentorship program between the master's years. It brought me Sydney, my imaginary friend, come to life, but also brought together the classes of 2021 and 2022 in such a powerful way. Frankly, we, the 4 MAs in my cohort, were devastated when our class was not a part of that this year, so I do want to emphasize the significance of this program in creating a close master's community. Sydney and our mentors taught us to get through the visual analysis paper and methods, what classes to take, and how to handle both criticism and praise from our professors. Hands down, our experience at Case was made enjoyable because of our mentors. In closing, sorry, hold on a second. That's not supposed to be here. There we go. Okay, sorry. In closing, one thing you might know about Professor Witchy is that before we begin each museum studies class, she would have us do deep breathing exercises and close our eyes. It may seem a small thing, but wow. It made a difference to someone with an anxious mind who was definitely racing to get there on time, even though I only lived 4 minutes away. But after this some turn, she would ask, "What's your adjective today?" Meaning, how are you doing in a single or a few words? She'd resiliently nod, as sometimes we could only reply woof or ugh. However, today, Professor Witchy, my adjective is a little tired but very proud. So thank you, Professor Witchy, for your honesty and your openness, and for letting us take a breath. And thank you all for coming here today to hear our presentation.